Beetlejuice. Hello guys, so for this quick and simple Beetlejuice look, I'm starting by applying a foundation that's a little bit lighter than my skin tone, all over my face, blending onto the ears and down onto the neck. The foundation was sitting really weird on my skin in certain areas, so I decided to apply a white cream makeup over top to kind of the areas I'd usually highlight, but a broader area under the eyes, down the nose, and onto the chin and forehead. Then I'm wiping my brush off a bit on a towel and really blending the edges of the white into my foundation. I'm then contouring using a medium cool toned brown shade along the cheekbones, up onto the temples, under the lower lip, the nose, jawline, blending down onto the neck and around the forehead. I then decided I should probably set that with a translucent powder, which I usually do before contouring, but I guess I forgot. Then I went in with a muted green eyeshadow and just lightly blended that onto some of the areas that we'll be adding the latex to later. You can apply these wherever you want to. I went for the top of the cheekbones and the forehead a bit. Starting the eyes off with a black eyeshadow base, using a stiff blending brush to apply to the lid up to about the crease and along the lower lash line as well. Then blending out those edges to really soften and smoke it out. You can also give this a more smudgy blend if you'd like to as well. The black base is going to really deepen the tone of the shadow we put on top of it and give it a more rich, smoky vibe. I'm lining my lower waterline with a black pencil liner, using the same brush to blend onto the lower lash line, then adding a little more of the black base and again blending it out. Now going in with a vibrant purple eyeshadow and packing that on top of the black base using a dense concealer brush. This one is Kat Von D's. Building up the color until I'm happy with it, and I'm using the same brush to apply it along the lower lash line. This brush is really nice because it's wide and dense for packing on, but has a smaller, thinner head, so it fits perfectly under the eyes as well. I'm then switching to a clean, fluffy brush to blend out the edges of the purple, adding a little more product to the brush as I go to build up the color in areas where I feel like needs it. Smudging a little bit under the eyes to give it a more grungy feel, and decided to blend all the way up just lightly into the brows as well. Adding a highlight to the brow bones using a green holographic highlight, just applying and blending that slightly onto the purple with my finger. Then applying a purple holographic highlight to the inner corners, blending onto the upper lid but more onto the lower lash line using a small crease brush. I'm applying this to the center of the mobile lid as well, really building it up at the very center near the lash line, blending out into the purple and switching back to the other fluffy brush to blend more purple onto the highlights and just blend my purple out even more. You can take this out as far as you want to. I'm applying a bit of the green highlight to the top of the cheekbones and nose, and then for the brows, I'm filling in my natural shape with my usual precise brow pencil, combing through to help distribute the product, then setting the hairs in place with a clear brow gel. I'm then curling my lashes and reapplying a bit of that purple highlight to brighten, then tightlining my eyes with the black pencil liner. For the moldy green areas, I'm using some liquid latex that I've colored green using a couple gel cake icing colors, a leaf green plus a tiny dab of black. You don't need a lot of these, and the latex will actually dry down a bit darker as well, so keep that in mind as you're adding color. I'm applying this using a disposable black stipple sponge as well as a regular makeup wedge sponge that I've ripped little bits out of to create some texture. Then using the stirring stick to apply a little of the latex onto the stipple sponge. You can then apply it to any areas you want to add this moldy textured look to. I'm going in lightly so I don't go too overboard to begin with. Using my finger to tap out any areas I want to tone down, and I want to have this kind of fade out toward the edges so we don't have any super harsh lines. So I'm stippling on with a more gentle hand as I work my way out. Be careful applying around the eyes and brows so you don't get any latex in your lashes, eyes, or brow hairs. I wanted to have this on both cheeks but not symmetrical, so one side I started up higher near the eye and the other on top of my cheekbone. And here you can see the color difference between the wet and dry latex. Also, if you have any thicker areas, those are going to dry the darkest, so that will create a bit of dimension. I'm applying a few layers of this stippling, letting dry in between each. I'm adding a larger area down on the neck, and I'm switching to the ripped up sponge here a little bit as well. This one gives a softer look compared to the stipple sponge. So what I ended up liking was to apply it using the black stipple sponge and then stipple and blend out some areas with the other one. If you're sensitive or allergic to latex, you could try doing the same thing with gelatin, although I haven't tried that, so I can't say how well that actually works. Or you could even just use various green shades of body paint or other liquid or gel makeup products to create the look of this same kind of texture. Speaking of, I'm going in with a muted green liquid lipstick to add a little spatter and just a bit of different color throughout. I'm using the Delium Tools splatter brush first, picking up some of the product, then facing it toward me and flicking out to create a fine spatter. You could do this with body paints as well. Then using a clean side of the black stipple sponge to add a little more of this color. This lightened everything up in general, so I decided to go in with another layer of the latex to add more darker bits. I'm applying that same green liquid lipstick to the lips, applying it to top and bottom separately so I could blend out and soften the lip line before it dried down. And I'm using a small fluffy blending brush to do that. I'm blending it out more on the one side where I'll be applying the latex texture, and then decided to darken it just a little bit with a darker green liquid lip, starting by applying a dab at the center of the lips and blending out by pressing my lips together and using my finger. Then as before, adding another textured area around the corner of the mouth, taking it onto the top lip, up toward the nose, and down onto the chin a bit. Again, switching between sponges and adding thicker spots where I want more darkness. I decided to set the lower liner in place with the purple eyeshadow, so I'm packing that on using the same concealer brush from earlier, then blending out with the fluffy brush. I added some purple smudging down onto the green areas as well. I applied black mascara to top and bottom lashes and then used my NYX Epic Ink liner to add in more darkness and dotting to create even more dimension. Focusing this on my already darkest areas but adding more light dotting to again fade it out toward the edges. One more go around with the latex, and then I almost forgot, but I'm adding some of this around one side of my forehead as well, fading down onto the temple and other side of the forehead, following all the same steps as before and letting it dry before I put my hair down. For my hair, I gave it a quick messy curl with the flat iron, and this color is actually just the result of removing my previous color, which worked out pretty well for this look, but I decided to add in some gray and white colored hairsprays to make my roots a little lighter and just to make my hair look kinda gross. I haven't used these sprays in a while, and I had forgotten just how much I dislike them. They smell so bad and make your hair way too crunchy. So I would suggest maybe try using some body paints in similar colors to create a similar effect. But that's it for this one, guys. A bit of a change of pace here, so I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one.